I'm Cole Thomas Enritis, Vice Chair of the Member-Led Arts Forum at Commonwealth Club World Affairs, and also serving the Department of Engagement and Connectivity at San Francisco Opera. Tonight, the Member-Led Arts Forum is honored to welcome Matthew Schilbach, General Director of San Francisco Opera. During Matthew's decade-long leadership of the company, now celebrating its 103rd season, San Francisco Opera has brought to the stage new works such as Dream of the Red Chamber by Bright Sheng and David Henry Hwang, John Adams' Anthony and Cleopatra, and Girls of the Golden West with a libretto by Peter Sellers, El Último Sueño de Frida y Diego by Gabriela Lena Frank and Nilo Cruz, Innocence by Kaya Saariaho and Sophie Aksanen, and the Pulitzer Prize-winning opera Omar by Rhiannon Giddens and Michael Avels. Joining Matthew in discussion this evening is Chinese-born composer Huang Ruo. The vibrant and inventive musical voice of Huang Ruo draws equal inspiration from ancient and Chinese folk music, Western avant-garde, experimental, noise, natural and processed sound, rock, and jazz. He integrates these disparate musical styles in a seamless, organic manner using a compositional technique that he calls dimensionalism. Huang Ruo's diverse range of cross-genre compositions encompasses works of orchestra, chamber music, opera, theater, dance, sound installation, multimedia, conceptual public art, and film. He has composed 9 operas, and this November, San Francisco Opera presents the world premiere of his latest, The Monkey King, with a libretto by David Henry Hwang. Based on the classic Chinese novel Journey to the West, The Monkey King is an action-packed opera combining high-energy music and text with puppetry, dance, Peking opera, and Buddhist sutras to tell the tale of the Monkey King's beginnings. Matthew, Huang Ruo, thank you for being with us this evening. I now leave it to the two of you to guide us all into the legendary and magical world of the Monkey King.
Thank you, Cole, and thank you, Anne. Thank you for having us.
Cole, thank you so much. And a big thank you to everyone at the Commonwealth Club. Thank you to Anne and thank you to Cole for welcoming us in and sharing this conversation. It's so exciting. We are just weeks away from opening the Monkey King. We open on November 14th. And all the artists are now here. We are deep in rehearsals. We've had the sets on stage in August, and we'll be back to the sets in just a few weeks on the stage. And so all of these layers are coming together. And so this is just the perfect time to be delving into this with our incredible composer, Huang Ruo. And Huang Ruo, we're going to cover a lot of ground tonight, but I thought maybe let's just begin by grounding ourselves. Many people watching may know the story of the Monkey King, but people may be new to this. And I wondered, can you just give us a brief overview of the journey to the West from which the Monkey King is taken, and then just give us a deep sort of delve into the actual story that people will be seeing on stage in the version that you and David are telling?
Yes. It is one of the 4 great novels from ancient China. It's called Journey to the West. In Chinese, is 西游记 by the great novelist called Wu Cheng'en from the Ming Dynasty. And the novel is a recount actually of this true figure called Xuan Zhang, who is a monk from the Tang Dynasty, of his journey to India, to what they call the Western world, the land of bliss, to collect and to bring back the Buddhism sutras back to the Tang Dynasty to share with the people. And on the journey, he has 3 disciples and a white horse. So the first disciple is the Monkey King, called Sun Wukong. And the second one is called Zhu Bajie, is the picky, known in the West. And the third one is the Sha, is a monster-ish kind of figure. And the white horse actually was a dragon, was punished to be a white horse to help the journey. So, and on their journey to the West, every episode, they encounter all kind of monsters, from spider lady to elephant monster to bear. So it's full of imagination and But of course, our central figure of our opera, the Monkey King, is the first chapter of the book. It's about the birth and becoming of the Monkey King figure, and it's called Uproar in the Heaven. And it talk about so this is also our opera based on it talk about the monkey was born from a rock which suck in all the energy and magics from the heaven and the earth. And the monkey was born, and there was Monkey Nation being terrorized by all kind of monsters.
They were
And
very oppressed, right? They were kind of put
exactly.
upon as a society.
Exactly. So they don't have safe haven. They are looking for a safe home. And then they encounter a waterfall, and then they say who is able to help us to find a safe home in the waterfall. We will name that monkey. I want to say name that person, but in this case, name that monkey the king.
Right.
And Monkey King shows up, say, I will find you a home. I will be your king. So then he ran through the water, and then there was a big cave behind it. And then he found them a safe home. So he was crowned the king. And then later on, he thought of would be nice to have longevity, to give not only him, but also everyone long life. So they
The Monkey
never
Nation,
die.
yeah.
The Monkey Nation. So, and then he went to study the longevity from his teacher called Master Suputi, who is a Taoist. And he learned all the magic, including the 72 form of transformation. And then monkey, being monkey, he likes to show off. So the next day, he can't wait to show off all the magic to his fellow the disciples from from Subhuti. And then the teacher was very angry. He said, "You know that I need to kick you out of my place, because you will bring big disaster, not only to you but also to me. So never tell anyone I am your teacher."
Because the monkey is irreverent. I mean, the monkey has this kind of just disruptive streak to him as well, who is constantly just pushing boundaries and
exactly. Exactly. And I think, it's human nature, it's monkey nature, right? So then the opera goes under the sea, under the ocean. Monkey King want to have a weapon. So then he tried all the weapon provided by the Dragon King, and he breaks everything. It's like too light, too light, too light. And then finally, the Dragon King, in order to send him off, he said, well, there is a big golden column in the ocean, was the last piece of metal when the heaven and earth was created, was left in the ocean to support the ocean. If you could take it, I'll give it to you. If you can't, you go elsewhere. So who knows? Monkey King has his magic. And then he threw the golden column into a needle. And then he was like, thank you, Ao Guang. Thank you, Dragon King. I owe you to this weapon. Here I go. So then the ocean collapsed. And then the next scene, suddenly we go to the heaven. Jade Emperor, who rules the heaven, is having a party. So then all the gods, they are kind of just well-to-do and look down on anyone else below them. And Ao Guang came to frame and sue Monkey King, accusing Monkey King of stolen this golden column. And then, so he basically lied. And because of that, the Jade Emperor decided to capture and punish Monkey King. And, the story is so magical. And then Monkey King rebel and fight the heavenly warriors. And we have the four kings of the north, south, west, and east. And each of them has a specialty. One is with this sword. The sword could multiply to thousands of swords. And with our amazing both director Diane Paulus and puppeteer Basil Twist, you will see swords fighting shields on stage with puppetry. And then Monkey King defeated one king, and then another king come with a giant snake, and tried to bite Monkey King, and then Monkey King took the golden ball from the snake's head, and the snake died. And then there is a king of the pipa, who plays this pipa. So because of that, I also use a pipa in our opera, which is a traditional Chinese instrument. So you hear this beautiful, seductive tune, actually is a weapon that make you dizzy and then pass out. And then Monkey King got dizzy, all the Monkey Nation monkeys falling to sleep. And then a fourth king, who is the king of the umbrella, released the giant umbrella, and then which sucked in every monkeys, including the Monkey King, and then they were captured. And then brilliantly, Monkey King thought of, because he has magic, so he took our hair, he blow, and then it become a knife. So he used that knife to pull a hole in the umbrella and able to come out, rescue everybody. And then he took the pipa from the king of the pipa, and then he played the same tune back. And then the king of the pipa and the umbrella also get dizzy, and then they were defeated. So it's humorous, magical, and of course at the end he has a big battle with Erlang, the Lord Erlang, and then he was captured by Lao Jun, supreme sage Lao Jun. And he was roasted in the furnace for 49 days. Everyone thought he died, but in fact he didn't. He came out with this what we call 火眼金睛. His eyes become red and could see through everything.
Stronger than ever.
Stronger than ever. So at the end, Jade Emperor has to bring out Buddha, who is of course the leader of all the Buddhists. And then Buddha plays a trick on the monkey. He said, if you could escape my palm, I will let you go. If you cannot, you will be my prisoner. So Monkey King flies, and then he escaped, and then he thought so, and then he fly to this beautiful place, very peaceful, and then he sees the mountain of 5 peaks. But he felt very lonely. It's a beautiful, peaceful place, very lonely. And then he sung this beautiful aria called Land of Bliss. And in order to mark his territory, monkey being monkey, he actually, after he sung, he will pee. In this case, our singer will pretend to pee on the San Francisco Opera stage. And then he wrote down, Monkey King came here. And then suddenly he heard this laughter of Buddha saying, clean up your mess, you are still in my palm. So then he realized that peak of the mountain of 5 peaks actually was Buddha's palm. And then Buddha turned and trapped monkey, and monkey was trapped for 500 years. But actually, without knowing, Buddha actually was the same person as monkey's teacher, Master Subhuti, who taught monkey try to clean up the corrupt heaven, but monkey become uncontrollable. So Ru Lai captured Buddha, and then throughout our opera, we had this magical Diamond Sutra being sung to monkey in Chinese by goddess of mercy called Guan Yin Pusa, and the disciples, the Bodhisattva choir, will be sung by the beautiful San Francisco chorus.
And we'll get to that in a moment, Huang Guo.
We'll get to that, yes.
So yeah, this all of what you just said there is going to happen on the opera stage, which is kind of crazy because there was a lot of places and a lot of magic and a lot of incredible things that have to happen. And this is such an epic piece, and that's just the first few chapters of Journey to the West. We haven't, and in this opera, we won't even get to meeting Piggy and the Sand Monster and the horse. Yeah. They come later. But so we'll come back and we'll sort of delve into how we're going to accomplish this extraordinary feat. Sure. But I want to pause a little bit on Monkey King and just talk a little bit about you, and just ask if you could share some of your upbringing, your kind of growth as a composer. You were born in the year that the Cultural Revolution ended in China.
1976.
1976. What was it like growing up in the 1980s in China? What was it like growing up artistically in those years?
Yeah. So my father also is a composer, or was. He passed away now. And my mother was a doctor. So my household was full of music. And my mom, who is a doctor, but she loved music, she would sing and while she was cooking, and she was the one took me to take piano lessons. And of course, she doesn't read music, so she would write down what the teacher say, fourth line, third measure, there's a note. And then I was like a monkey. I say, no, 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 it's the fifth line, first measure, So I would play tricks on her, and she could not verify. And then sometimes I have to practice 1 hour, and then I would take the clock down and then turn the clock fast forward, and then I say, "Oh, I'm done." But growing up in China in the 80s is how should I say? It's a beautiful country. The people are so passionate and so warm. Food is great, of course, but we have great heritage and great culture. And the 80s, after the Cultural Revolution, China was ready to open its gate. So we had Beatles coming in at the same time as Michael Jackson, Madonna, Guns N' Roses, Jamie Hancock, all these great Western artists, I should say. Of course, at the same time, music of Bach, Handel, Stravinsky. I still remember the first time I heard Bach and Stravinsky. To me, it's all new. Same as Beatles, they're all new music to me. There's no hierarchy. No one is better, one's worse. They're just wonderful stuff to listen to, which actually gave me the insight of actually good music is good music. I don't judge and I just take in. And then I remember I owned 5 pairs of different color of jeans. In those days, in the 80s, jean is very popular. And of course, in the West, the blue jean is the trademark. We call it cowboy jean, I think, from commercials, cowboy was that. I have blue, I have black, I have red, I have green, I believe, also gray, all kind of colors. Yeah, so I enjoyed those days, and I went to Shanghai to study music at the pre-college school it's a boarding school, very professional. When I was 12, so I stayed in Shanghai for 6 years to study composition with my teacher, Professor Deng. Yeah.
And then after studying in Shanghai, you moved to America in 95, I think, and you studied at Oberlin Conservatory and the Juilliard School of Music, where you received your doctorate. I'm curious, what differences did you encounter between the approaches to composition instruction between China and Shanghai, and then your time in America? And were there big differences in the approaches to how composition was taught?
That there are big differences, and I was very fortunate. I had a great teacher when I was in China, because teaching someone who was 12 is not easy. And my teacher doesn't use any textbook. This is Mr. Deng, Professor Deng Erbo. So he would use live example, and he say, look at the street. There was car coming and people stop, let car cross. And then there was a red light and then car stop, people move. What is that? That's counterpoint. So when one hand is doing something, the other hand is filling the blank. They are not running into each other. So that for me is very easy to understand. Instead of no pedal fifth, no pedal, all those things, I was like, but Mozart did that. Debussy, so anyway, the Western music to me, I learned in a very fun way. And of course, in Shanghai, I also learned about Chinese traditional music. So I wrote traditional instrumental music for my friends. And I wrote a lot of instrumental music. I never thought I would write for opera, of course. That was something came much later. And in America, and then when I graduated from the conservatory, I was 18. And my teacher said, contemporary music is truly a Western thing. You should go to the West. So that was my reckoning moment of journey to the West. So I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to my teacher to make a journey to the West. And I chose America. I went to Oberlin, which is a very, very, how should I say, liberal, very free school. Is a city. I was shocked because it's a city, but only have 1.5 street. In China, this is not even a village. So, but there you go. And I remember the first time I was in a classroom, and then suddenly there was a classmate stand up and then just walk out. I was like, oh my God, the teacher's going to have a fist. The teacher just like put nothing happened, keep on. I almost had a heart attack. And then later I found out that student went to use the bathroom. And of course, in China, we would never do that. You before you speak, you need to raise your hand, and the teacher will allow you to speak, and then you speak, may we use the bathroom? I don't think that question was even to be asked. So and those are the differences. And I think, and also the teacher will say, "Oh, just call me Jack, call me Matt." Of course, even up to today, my composition teacher at Juilliard, who is Professor Samuel Eller, I would always, even up to today, I would call him Dr. Eller. He would say, no, just call me Sam.
It's deeply ingrained.
He's like 95 years old. I could never call him Sam, it's disrespectful. So, those for me is precious differences.
Well, you have, in your music, Huang Ruo, you so beautifully and so organically find this synthesis of East and West and the traditions of your home in China, and then what you have brought into that from America, from Europe. Was that a very conscious decision to try and find a musical style that would bridge across the Pacific, or did that just happen organically for you?
Well, when I was or I am writing, I never thought, oh, that's Chinese. Oh, that is American. Oh, that's European. One can never think like that. I remember when I was first at Oberlin, before I have sometimes people come to me before they even know who I am or listen to my music. They say, "Oh, do you write like Tan Dun? Do you write like Bai Shen?" So they would assume all Chinese composers write the same. And of course, we don't look the same, we don't write the same, we don't live the same life. So to me, I try to write according to what I observed. And each person has a very different cultural background. I'm from Hainan Island. I grew up in Canton. I'm a southern boy. In my culture, the louder I am, the warmer I am. So I talk loudly, I laugh loudly, I have a very sunshine character. And my music could come across as very direct, and I don't want to say very loud, but it get to the point, very immediate. But yet I also have this very quiet and very sentimental side, very sensitive. Then there is music could show that. But of course, instead of calling that East Midwest, what I want to call that is called the third culture. Not only me, there's so many people living in America or elsewhere. We came from one culture, live our life in a different culture, and we became a third culture. It's neither one nor the other, and is no less than either one. Equally important, and we are creating something new. So that's what I want to think of my music and the opera I create. They are not Chinese opera, and they are not European opera either. They are just opera. They're opera that of today, and if we have to call them a name, I would say that's Asian American opera.
Well, as you say, this is very, very personal to you and to the influences that you have had in your life. As with any composer, it's bringing all of those influences to the fore. And what I love about the Monkey King and the music you've written for Monkey King, and we'll play a little bit in a moment, but is just how personal of a journey this has been for you. And I will just say to people watching, this project really came from two different directions. San Francisco Opera had done an opera by Bright Sheng, who you mentioned, Dream of the Red Chamber in 2016, which was another of these great Chinese novels, the four great Chinese novels. And so that was such a success, we began thinking, well, should we look to the other three of these novels for another piece? So we were already beginning to look at Journey to the West. And I think you and I met in Santa Fe in 2017, and you had already begun thinking about the Monkey King and how the Monkey King could work as an opera. And I loved, and I was so moved by your motivation for that. And I wonder if you could just share for people why the Monkey King was such an important opera for you to write.
Yes, thank you for recalling our first meeting, and also my deep conviction of why Monkey King is so important. Now, it was a story I grew up with. Now, in China in the 80s, early 80s at least, we don't have Disney nor Marvel Studio. We have this wonderful Shanghai animation film company, which make beautiful animation films with a traditional painting technique. So Monkey King is one of them. I believe it's the 60s or 70s and was made. It's 1.5 hours long, almost 2 hours long. So it tells the uproar in heaven, the first chapters of the Journey to the West. So I love, I just love not only the Monkey King character, but even the Lord Erlang, Erlang Shen, he's so cool. He's a third eye. His third eye could see through. Monkey King pretend to be a temple, looks just like a temple. And Lord Erlang looked through that, he sees a monkey, So I was like, this is amazing stuff. It's full of imagination. And of course, later on in the 80s, we have a very famous TV series of Journey to the West. And I also read it in what we call picture books for kids, So it came in many, many forms. I often felt Monkey King is a character that I could relate deeply to. Someone who is playful, who is honest, who like to, I'm not saying I like to destroy things, but sometimes I like to be myself and out of the box. But also Monkey King also learn the lesson and to be a better person.
Right.
And then when I came to America, I was like, actually, Monkey King is everywhere. I think Monkey King spirit is not just in China, it's in other part of Asia, but also this exceptionalism. Monkey King is about how Monkey himself tried to achieve what he dreamed of, not with help by others, right? So this to me also is American exceptionalism. You work hard, you move further down the road to what your dream is. Monkey King also has a dream. So then when Kung Fu Panda came out, as much as I love that movie, I said, no, Kung Fu is not our superhero. Panda is not our superhero. So then during the pandemic, I should say, obviously for very, very various obvious reasons, Asian Americans and Asians were being put into a very tough spot. We were discriminated, even attacked because of the coronavirus. And I personally also experienced some of those discrimination. And I thought to myself, it would be good to have a positive image, positive of superhero from the East, just to tell the world what the Eastern culture is. We have a figure, legendary figure, as great as the Monkey King, and for all those young American, Chinese American, and Asian American children. You know, myself have two kids. When they were celebrating Halloween, they were wearing my son wears Spider-Man and my daughter wears I think Elsa from Frozen. You know, that's their custom. And I was thinking would be nice if they wear the Monkey King costume. They have a superhero from Asia to look up to want to be. Wouldn't that be a wonderful day for us? So that's another reason I thought it's the right time for this opera to come out. And of course, with you, Matthew, and also San Francisco Opera, who really hear my calling and believe in this mission and proposal, and to give us, David and I, a chance to tell this story through the operatic stage. This profoundly meaningful and important.
It's
so thank you.
The depth of that connection is so meaningful, Huang Ruo. And what I have loved as I have got to know this piece, Journey to the West, and how you and David have adapted it, it's kind of a unique piece in certain ways. I've been trying to think of analogies to this, in that here's a piece that people grow up with and have a deep nostalgia for because they see it in cartoons, they see it in comic books, their grandparents tell them the story of the Monkey King. Yet it's also deeply spiritual. It has got this incredible action hero element to it. It doesn't take long for someone who doesn't know the Monkey King to suddenly get entranced by the Monkey King and want to read the whole thing. So it has this, incredible adult appeal to it, yet it sort of comes from this deep place of nostalgia. And I just as we've been talking to people about the opera and seeing how it resonates with people, it's so exciting. This is going to be coming to the opera stage.
Yeah, and I think we are actually very familiar with superheroes with superpower. There are so many of them in the West, but also with Harry Potter, right? And with opera world, we also have something called the magic flute. So I think the idea of seeing magic on screen, on movie screen, on TV screen is more common nowadays. But on opera stage is quite unusual. I mean, compared with our Monkey King, magic flute, is become primitive magic-wise, and the Monkey King is so much magic displaying on stage, and also we do it through this element of puppetry and projection, and lighting, of course, and with three monkeys, not only the singer monkey, but also the puppet monkey and the dancer monkey who does the fighting, the martial art, the Peking opera style dancing. So all three become one. And I think that is the very convincing way to tell this story.
Well,
at the stage, yeah.
I think, Huang Ruo, we should take a quick look at this because, while we talk about how this magic is created, I want to share with people some of the images that we took. So these photos that you're about to see here were taken in August when we do what we call our summer pre-tech period. And so you'll be seeing very much a work in process. This was the first chance we had to get it on the stage. So what we're showing here is not the final product, but it is the work in process. And you'll get to see a little bit of the incredible magic and extraordinary artistry that the creative team here has brought to it. This is under the direction of Diane Paulus, and Basil Twist is our puppeteer and scenic designer. Hannah Kim is our projection designer. Po Sayagusa is our lighting designer. So this just gives you a little bit of a sense of the incredibly ephemeral world that our creative team has come up with. We move through so many different places and we move so quickly that we can't do this with traditional scenery. Neither would you want to, because this is a world of magic. And so here we are in the prologue, right, Huang Ruo? And just tell us what we're seeing here.
So now what we're seeing here actually is a very primitive tech stage. So what you will see on our final stage is 10 times more magnificent.
Yes.
But even with this, it looks very beautiful. So you have at the center, from the top being hanging down is this lotus seat where Guan Yin, our goddess of mercy, will be standing. So she will be chanting the Diamond Sutra with her Bodhisattva choir, which will be the chorus. You see the people standing on the stage with these clouds. And of course, they're not in our custom yet, but
Right.
they are in the cloud. They are flying in the sky. You have golden clouds made beautifully by Hannah. And so that is the prologue. I started the entire opera with a cappella singing. And the reason being, of course, I want to start with the Diamond Sutra, which is the words of Buddha himself. But also, I was just thinking, how to start an opera today. How many opera actually started with a cappella singing? I could not recall one.
Right.
So in that case, I feel this is a very fresh way to bring audience into our magical world.
And let's just take a quick look at some of the other looks here. If we can, this is the five-fingered mountain that flanks the birth of the monkey, and we will return to the mountain at the end. But again, you're seeing an early version here. We're just playing around with ideas. But you get to see the incredible interplay of all of this silk, which is what is creating these five peaks, with the projection, which is video projection, so it's always moving and always active, spilling out onto the stage floor as well. It's really amazing to see that energy. And then here we are moving into the night scene with Master Subhuti. Again, all this will be video, so you'll get to see all of these flowers will be animated, and it's just this beautiful, beautiful world. And then here, just an interplay of texture between video projection and the silks, and how the silks can swag and form different sort of areas within the stage, so that you're not always looking at the whole stage. You might be looking at a more intimate area like this. Tell us about this scene, Huang Ru. This is a fun scene in the opera.
Yeah, so this scene is the horses. Now, again, these are the practice horse. We actually have new and beautiful horses would look just like heaven horses. So Monkey King was given a fake title, Master of Stables. The Jade Emperor tried to control him and give him this title to bring him to the heaven. And Monkey King saw the horses are being chained and not really happy. So Monkey King feed them and unchain them, and then the horses are happily flying and singing. So this is the scene of the heavenly horses. And you see those white, on both sides, you have this what we call the white clouds, actually. So they are representing the heaven as well. Yeah.
And this again sort of will be the genius of Basil Twist, the puppeteer who grew up here in San Francisco, and so this is a wonderful homecoming for him, being able to manipulate objects to create this wonderful sense of motion and animation on stage. This is part of the big battle sequence that Huang Ru, you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, with the King of the Snake. Yeah.
King of the Snake. And then we move into this, which is the great furnace scene that you were saying the monkey is baked for 49 days. And
Being
actually,
roasted,
you get to see here the puppet down at the bottom of the screen, the puppet monkey being manipulated Bunraku style. So three puppeteers, one operating the body and the head, one operating the hands, and one operating the feet. But this is a wonderful, wonderful scene here. And then we move into this, which is, again, this is a kind of work in process. You're seeing sort of the prototype here being built, but this is the big five-fingered mountain at the end. And tell us a little bit about this disc in the middle here, Huang Ru.
So that is where the Buddha, Ru Lai, will stay. And in fact, which you don't see it now, but actually our director, Diane and Basil, they created a face of the Buddha. And then that circle actually is exactly at the place,
Sorry.
the third eye. So when you look at it, actually, it's very dimensional display of the face of the Buddha. And
Yeah.
of course, the mountain of five peaks is the palm of the Buddha. And the person standing there, that would be where the monkey would be standing. So at the end, actually, and I'm not going to revealing how this is done, so that you could come to see our
Exactly.
opera. But then the five peaks actually, they're like a 3 or 4 people's height. They're very
Right.
tall, and then they will actually close in and trap the monkey in the hand. So you will actually see that happening on stage. Yeah.
It's going to be incredible. And then just one little glimpse here. This is a monkey puppet. As Huang Ro said, we have 3 different monkeys. We have a puppet monkey. You see here, we have, of course, the singing monkey with some beautiful, beautiful music that Huang Ro has written, and then a martial arts monkey as well, because this monkey needs to do everything. And we scoured the world to find a monkey who could sing, fight, and fly for thousands of miles, and we couldn't quite find the one person who could do everything. So we split the duties in 3. So just a little bit of a glimpse there of what's to come. And as we were saying, those are just the early looks from August. Now we will get it back on stage, and it will go into an even more beautiful place. Huang Ro, I keep saying we're going to play some music, so let's play some music. But let's set this up a little bit, because one of the big realizations that I think we had early on was this is an action hero story. As you say, that's part of the appeal of it. Mm-hmm. And it moves frenetically from scene to scene to scene, and fight sequences and battles and so forth. And it's so exciting.
From place to place, right? From the earth to the ocean to the haven to the heaven.
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah.
But while that is going to be incredibly thrilling, one of our superpowers as an art form in opera is that we dwell in deep emotion and deep reflection. We make people cry. And so as we began to talk about this early on, we said, like, how do we bring that element and make sure that there's the emotion in the Monkey King too? And you and David Henry Wong came up with a really fabulous solution. Can you just share a little bit about how you brought that depth into the story of the Monkey King?
Yeah. So actually, we were thinking how to also integrate Chinese singing with Chinese language into the opera. So it will be sung in English and Chinese. And for the Chinese, we thought of the idea of using this plot line of Guan Yin and Buddha Sattva Choir chanting the Diamond Sutra to monkey throughout the opera. You know, we have Monkey King trapped in the mountain, and then the flashback of what happened to him. So we keep go back and forth with these two time and space location. But then when the Diamond Sutra is chanted, it's always in Chinese. Now, because the 2 reasons. One is Diamond Sutra actually is one of the sutras. The monk, remember the monk I told you in the Journey to the West, the real monk, Xuanzang from Tang Dynasty, is one of the sutras he brought back and then he translated. So that to me is very meaningful. And the second reason is Diamond Sutra was the teaching of Buddha, and is Buddha's having this back and forth dialogue with one of his disciples called Subhuti. So then it's Buddha's words. So with our opera, the whole journey, now as what Matthew mentioned, is not only an action hero opera, but also down to the heart. It's about a personal transformation and enlightenment, the journey of the monkey. He, from the very, very beginning, ignored the teaching of his teacher, singing to him, power alone is not enough. But monkey ignored that. All he wanted is to be powerful, to beat everyone up, to show how powerful he is. And again, I think a lot of people in our world, a lot of, places, you will see that mentality. Who is stronger, who is more powerful, well able to be the best. But then, following through this plot line, and later on, the words chanting to him was, power is given, to be given away. So that is another teaching. And then at the end of the chanting of the Diamond Sutra, finally we hear this chorus, almost in a cappella style again, chanting these 8 words from Diamond Sutra, which are the 8 very, very important words, is 因无所住而生其心, which means the heart should not have any attachment. Then you gain the heart to wisdom and compassion. So which means let go of what attached to our ambition and heart. And then you could make room for compassion to help others. So that to me is true power. And Monkey learned that at the end, which enabled him to free himself out from the containment of the mountain of 5 elements. So yes, so this is the sutra being sung throughout in Chinese by Guan Yin and the disciples to Monkey.
It is such a incredible structure that you have given to the opera in this way, Huang Ro, and all of the action, and then all of this reflection happening in just an opera of 2 hours, 20 minutes in total, including the intermission. So you move very quickly through this in such a beautiful way, but keep coming back to that heart and the spiritual nature of this. And then let's see if we can play a little bit of this. This is something we recorded. This is just with piano, so it'll be with orchestra when people hear it in November. But this gives you a sense of the incredible lyricism of Huang Ro's music and the deep spirituality in which he has set these sutras. And we'll be hearing it from the person who is playing the Guan Yin character. This is Megwei Zhang, who audiences here in San Francisco have seen in many, many things, including Dream of the Red Chamber, but also in Ballo in Mascara, and also in the beautiful production of Orpheus and Eurydice we had a couple of years ago. So this is just 30 seconds of the Diamond Sutra sung by Megwei Zhang. Just a taste there, just a taste of what is one of the most beautiful pieces of music I've heard. I listen to that driving home all the time, just to, at the end of a day, just to be in that space. And I should say to people that you can go and listen to the whole thing if you go to our website, go to the Monkey King webpage, and about halfway down, you can go and listen to Megwei singing the whole aria there. It is just sublime, Huang Ro. I cannot wait to hear that in the theater. It's going to be beautiful. Now, Monkey King, Huang Ro, is your 10th opera. That is quite extraordinary to be at that juncture point, to be in double digits with your operas. You've written some extraordinary works already. You also have another one in process right now because you're writing the wedding banquet for the Metropolitan Opera, which will be in a future season. And I just wondered, as you hit double digits in your opera writing, what are some of the lessons you've learned over those operas in terms of what makes for a good opera? Are there some rules of thumb that you now follow?
I think each person, each composer has a different journey, different calling, and different stage to find opera as our platform. And to me, I started as a symphonic composer. I wrote a lot of symphonies. And I often felt, when I was writing symphonic works, one day my friend was saying, Huang Ro, even you're writing for violin or flute, I could hear this lyricism in the instruments, I hear drama in them. I never really realized that. And then until I started writing my first opera. It's very, very hard work because opera is like, what we will consider the highest art form in the classical canon. It combines, bring in so many elements. So, but I think what attracted to me about opera, unlike an orchestra, you have 24 violins. You try to play as close to as one person. That's the concertmaster. You bow the same way, same dynamic, same sound, right? Everyone tuned to the oboe, for example. So that is one way of creating art. But for operatic work, even you have a character is for lyric soprano, like our Guan Yin character. And I could promise you, in our world, there's no two sopranos sing exactly the same or sound exactly the same. Just like us, my voice is different from Matthew and different from anyone else. I think that is the challenge of writing for voice, is because it's so variable. Each person, each singer will bring in something different. But of course, that's the beauty of it, because then you are writing for something that could have so many unexpected magic in different person singing it, different pacing, different color. So I love that, actually. And also I love teamwork. In the opera world, we bring in so many excellent artists. We are all working towards one goal, that is to present the best possible outcome for our audience and to tell that opera story. So I love the process of starting from an idea, a seed, and then I finally brought us who believe in that idea. Two crazy people try to find a home to that seed. And then we found the Garden of San Francisco Opera. We planted that seed with Matthew's help. And then the seed start growing into a tree. Then we bring in, director, set designer, puppetry. So all these elements all come together, become this beautiful garden we want to present to you. And I think that is the challenge, but also that's the beauty. And we hope that Garden of the Monkey King will bring in something quite unusual and something magical on the San Francisco Opera stage.
Beautifully put, Huang Ro. And I just want to ask you one last question here. We're about 5 weeks away from opening night. What are you feeling at this point in the process?
I feel cautiously happy and excited. So yes, really looking forward to. I'm just like all of you. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't heard it yet. So I look forward to that moment, everything come alive.
As we keep adding each of those layers, and we add the singers, we add the orchestra, we add the costumes, and suddenly we add the audience, and we have the most incredible new opera on the stage of San Francisco Opera on November 14th. So Huang Ro, thank you for bringing your music into the world and for sharing it with us here in San Francisco. We are so, so excited. And with that, I will turn it back to Cole. Cole, thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Huang Ro, Matthew, thank you so much for your time this evening and for giving us a unique glimpse into the world of this exciting and innovative new work. The Monkey King receives its world premiere by San Francisco Opera at the War Memorial Opera House on November 14th, with additional performances through November 30th. For more information on these performances, please visit our website at sfopera.com or call our box office at 415-864-3330. With Commonwealth Club World Affairs and San Francisco Opera, I'm Cole Thomas-Enritis, thanking you all for joining us tonight. And now I return the podium to our chair of the member-led forums, Anne Smith.
Wow.
What a journey.
My goodness. What a superhero. It's like a altogether wonderfully different concept of the hero. And I'm just, again, this is a wonderful thing. And it could only happen at San Francisco Opera in San Francisco at this time. Such a wonderful event that that we can all look forward to going to. So buy your tickets. November 14th is the opening, and it goes through to close to the end of November, the 25th.
30th. Yeah.
So you can go see it. And if you want to do more than just go in person, I believe that there's a performance that's being streamed, and so you can watch it.
Right.
I love the streaming. They do a great job with that as well, for those of you who want to stay home and watch. And so very, very grateful for joining us at the Commonwealth Club this evening. For those watching, please become members. And don't forget the sale, $99. And bring your friends to events, buy a program ticket, and we definitely look forward to seeing you online and in person at the Commonwealth Club World Affairs, now celebrating its 122nd year of enlightened public discussion. And now, with thanks to everyone, this meeting is adjourned.